This is Webster Tarpley reporting from Washington, D.C., and it's the 19th of September, Friday afternoon here in the nation's capital. The outlook is troubled. The watchword from now until the election will be indict McCain for ISIS, or better yet, arrest McCain for ISIS. Too many people don't know how to spell indict. So arrest McCain for ISIS. Put a hashtag in front of that. Put a sharp in musical notation, a diesis. Hashtag arrest McCain for ISIS. This is now the key to the entire situation. To stop this war in the Middle East, which is now planned, obviously enough, to knock the entire war party on the defensive, to disrupt them, to harass them, to expose them, to prevent them from undertaking new warmonger lunatic actions vis-a-vis Ukraine, and also to prevent the forces of genocidal austerity from seizing control of the United States Senate. Let's focus on Senator McCain. He is the head of the Republican Party. He's their last nominee. Romney has dropped out, but McCain is there every day. He's on television all the time. And along with his amigo, Lindsey Graham, this is the voice of the war party. However, this is only the tip of the iceberg. These are now frontmen for a creeping military coup to box Obama in, feckless as he is, weak and disoriented as he is, with the likes of Valerie Jarrett advising him, to box in the feckless Obama and get a war going. And I can point out, I think, that this entire strategy is one that I denounced on this program based on an article, I believe, in the Washington Post back in the springtime, in the first week of April. John Kerry and the U.S. military are clashing on their approach to Syria's rebels. Pentagon opposes direct military intervention against Assad. And what we found out there back then was that Kerry and Samantha Power were trying to overwhelm the resistance of General Dempsey, Obama's handpicked chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Dempsey was saying no to military operations in Syria. In the past week, he says maybe. At that point, a defense official said if it weren't for the chairman Dempsey, you would be right back in Iraq or Afghanistan. If it were left up to Skull and Bones, John Kerry, and or humanitarian bomber and passionaria of genocide, Samantha Power. And the key word back then in April was searching for new options. Kerry has been huddling with retired generals, David Petraeus, the main focus of Bonapartism in this country, David Petraeus and Jack Keane, Keane, the architects of the 2007 troop surge plan in Iraq. Those two generals have told Mr. Kerry they believe a military program to train and equip the Syrian rebels with limited strikes to weaken Assad could be effective, according to U.S. officials. Well, that is practically where we are right now. How did they grind down Dempsey? How did this machine with McCain and Graham up front, with Kerry and Samantha inside the administration, and Rice and others, and then also Petraeus and Jack Keane, General Keane, coming in from the world of the neocon think tanks, the Institute for the Study of War, the American Enterprise Institute, the Kagans, Kimberly Kagan, Kim Kagan, Frederick Kagan, and Donald Kagan, and of course Newland. So there is a clique. Is John McCain the front man for a coup, for a putsch? These are interesting questions. You'll remember in that movie, The 7 Days in May, there's a senator who was part of the camouflage apparatus. So here it goes. McCain and ISIS. He's the leader of the Republican Party and a former presidential candidate. And he meets with this Badri, Ibrahim Badri, also known as Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, also known as Caliph Ibrahim. Well, where do we get it? The principal source of the most recent bout, I think we can say, is my good friend Thierry Meyssan of the Voltaire Network, and his important article that appeared in the Voltaire Network on the 18th of August. On the 18th of August, it was McCain, the orchestrator of the Arab Spring, and someone who was part of that secret meeting in Cairo to launch the entire wave of destabilizations, but above all, the conductor, orchestrator of the Arab Spring, and the Caliph. And here we had that picture of the secret meeting in Idlib, Syria, back in April of 2013. John McCain with the heads of the Free Syrian Army. In the left foreground, Ibrahim Badri, that's Badri, Baghdadi, Caliph Ibrahim, same guy, and Brigadier General Salim Idris, at that point the titular head on paper of the Free Syrian Army. And if you look at this very interesting article on the Voltaire Net website by Meyssan, he's also got a wanted poster for that same guy. Badri had, as of October 2011, so years before Walnuts McCain met him, we've got Badri with a price on his head. Up to $10 million reward for Badri, and you can see it's the same guy. Don't kid me, it's the same guy meeting with McCain there in Idlib with this other gaggle of terrorists. So this has now come to the fore. As you will remember, last week, and I want to cite this so you remember where we are in the process, my particular headline last week for this broadcast: Stop GOP power grab in U.S. Senate by exposing McCain's material support for ISS cannibal caliphate. Okay? And this is now the theme that dominate up until the time of the U.S. elections, unless it's overtaken by even greater crimes. So Voltaire put this out on the 18th of August, about a month ago. This was then on the following day, the 19th of August, the pro-Democratic Party website VoteVets.org, I believe, VoteVets, they put up an interesting, VoteVets.org. They began a campaign to expose McCain and call his office and demand explanations. Why was the leader of the Republican Party and the leader in the Senate, why was he meeting with those terrorists? And we'll continue this saga. We want you to have detailed, accurate background to go after McCain. Back in a minute. So now back to McCain. I said this interesting photograph, now for the first time labeled with the identification of one of the participants as Badri Baghdadi Caliph Ibrahim, appeared on the Voltaire Network on the 18th of August. Vote Vets then got into the act with their own parallel converging campaign on the 19th of August. So 18th of August, 19th of August. And at that point, Brian Rogers, Brianrogers, Brian Rogers, McCain's flack, McCain's press secretary, publicity man, began getting demands for explanations. Why was the senator meeting with those terrorists? And of course, the answer was, oh, this is a terrible misunderstanding. Those are the wonderful heroes of democracy from the Free Syrian Army. Well, they were quite possibly that, but many crazies wearing many hats, duplicitous, Byzantine, Levantine, easily able to sell themselves 6 different ways within a very short period of time. And not only did he meet them, but now we have to go to a very interesting article which I want to recommend to you. It's Got News, G-O-T-N-E-W-S, Got News, an article by Charles C. Johnson. This is from today, September 19th. Exclusive, overwhelming evidence that John McCain met with ISIS rebels. Well, again, most of this is what you see in the Voltaire Net article from 1 month earlier, but certainly tweets from Islamic terrorists and their supporters confirm that the terrorists John McCain met with partnered with ISIS. Don't believe this debunking. We'll go through the debunking in a minute. Senator McCain's spokesman, Brian Rogers, lies about the senator's ties to Syrian terrorists. McCain wanted a sleepover with the terrorists. And the source on that one is none other than Elizabeth O'Baggy. Elizabeth O'Baggy, you'll remember her. This was a year ago. Elizabeth O'Baggy was working at the Institute for the Study of War, the Kimberly Kagan monstrous think tank. Kimberly Kagan and General Jack Keane. Hey, we're seeing the same people again and again. O'Baggy worked for Kagan, and she was a colleague of General Keane, except that about a year ago, O'Baggy was exposed for having lied about her academic record. She's a fake PhD. She alleged that she was a PhD, and this was false. She had no PhD. Serious now. Speaking as a real PhD, I can tell you that this is dirty pool. So O'Baggy had to quit the Institute for the Study of War. Kimberly Kagan couldn't tolerate such a sleaze as Elizabeth O'Baggy. But then, don't worry, O'Baggy was hired by McCain. As far as I can determine with a quick search today, O'Baggy is a legislative aide to the senior senator from Arizona down to the present time. O'Baggy. And O'Baggy is the confirmation he wanted to stay over. And we're going to read you that when we come back here in just a minute on World Crisis Radio. Back to World Crisis Radio. The watchword of the hour. Arrest McCain for ISIS. Hashtag arrest McCain for ISIS. The head of the Republican Party must be arrested, indicted, and jailed for material support for terrorism. And then we'll see what the November election looks like, and we'll get to see whether the U.S. aid to the so-called moderate terrorists or democratic terrorists or pro-Western terrorists will be continued. This is Webster Tarpley reporting from Washington, D.C., and it's the 19th of September, Friday afternoon here in the nation's capital. The outlook is troubled. The watchword from now until the election will be indict McCain for ISIS, or better yet, arrest McCain for ISIS. Too many people don't know how to spell indict. So arrest vis-a-vis Ukraine, and also to prevent the forces of genocidal austerity from seizing control of the United States Senate. Let's focus on Senator McCain. He is the head of the Republican Party. He's their last nominee. Or in the Middle East, which is now planned, obviously enough, to knock the entire war party on the defensive, to disrupt them, to harass them, to expose them, to prevent them from undertaking new warmonger lunatic actions. McCain for ISIS. Put a hashtag in front of that. Put a sharp in musical notation, a diesis. Hashtag arrest McCain for ISIS. This is now the key to the entire situation. To stop this war.